All right, so I'll join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United
States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you everyone and welcome. We will start by computer screen. We'll start by minutes of the previous meeting. First, September 21st, which is in your packet in the one we missed previous.
Move for the approval.
Second.
We have a motion that has been seconded to approve the minutes for the previous meeting, September 21st. Would all those in favor please indicate by saying aye?
Aye. Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Up next, we have the October 5th minute meetings, which were fortunately sent out to you about 10 minutes ago.
Move to approve.
Second.
Perfect. So we have a motion to approve, and it's been seconded. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. All right. Outside the rail, we have up Lyle Jepson from the Chamber REDC Merger and Marketing Update. And Lyle will be presenting to us, so I'm going to hand it over to him.
All right, thank you very much, and thanks for having me tonight. It's nice to see everyone. As you probably have heard, the Chamber and REDC have merged as of September 1st, and we are now the Chamber and Economic Development of the Rutland region, which is the sexiest title we could come up with, but what it does is it says what we're doing, and hopefully people will recognize some of the work as we move forward. I do have an 8-slide PowerPoint. I promised Matt that I would not kill you with a slideshow tonight, but let me quickly share my screen, and then I can walk you quickly through what we have done. Hopefully you see that. Do you see welcome on the screen? Can someone say yes, because I can't see anyone right now?
Yes. Yes.
Good luck.
Thank you. All right, thank you very much. Maybe you can see me, but I can't see you right now. So we have merged both organizations, and this was not something that came on quickly. I think someone told me that we were talking about this 40 years ago, so we will not be accused of doing anything too quickly. But a while back, we looked at, and this was back in May, I was asked to come in and take a look at the two different structures. And what we found out was that the structures were pretty much identical. And we were looking at sharing resources, looking at how we had already combined a marketing committee, had already combined a policy committee. And so you'll see that the structures of both organizations were primarily the same. So we looked at what would be the outcome if we, and I don't especially want you to look through this and study this chart, but what I want you to know is that there was a clear outline and a process that we went through to determine, was this the right thing to do? Could we align these organizations to share resources and do an even better job than what was happening? And that did in fact happen. And when we looked at the missions of both organizations, we found out within about 90 seconds that they were very similar. The only difference was that REDC was working with larger businesses and the Chamber was working with hospitality and retail. We now are able to work with all sectors without saying this is yours, this is ours type of thing. So why do this? And so we decided that yes, we needed to have a common voice, that we wanted to eliminate duplication of effort, that we wanted to take advantage of the staff expertise. We wanted to be able to do loans. REDC has a loan fund. We wanted to be able to do loans not just with manufacturers, but also with retail and with hospitality. So we aligned everything into a one-stop shop, not that we know everything, but we will hopefully find answers to questions when people come in. We do want to enhance our public communication, so we have had 2 websites. We're now going to have 1 website. Instead of 2 newsletters, we'll have 1 newsletter, again, speaking with one voice. We want to provide options, as I just said, to a wider audience. So we will market to a wider audience and work with more businesses. And our membership dues, you know, was this Was this pushed along a little bit by COVID? Absolutely. I think you will find in the future that nonprofit organizations will be looking at how they can leverage each other's resources and work together. That's what happened here. We feel like we're a little bit like the family farm, that we've come together, and not only do we have dairy, but we also have our eggs, and we also have maple sugaring. So we now have membership. We have the REDC building that draws income. And we also have funds from the state that we can take advantage of. So we do not have just one funding source, which the chamber had, which was primarily raising money through events and or through membership. We now have all of that. So we've now taken those two structures and we have one structure, and we have one board, 27 members, quite a few people, but we also have 6 committees. And those 6 committees are doing those things you see on the screen right now. And you may be wondering, well, what's with the color, Lyle? Well, the color green right now is what we can work on specifically during COVID. And we are working on helping our members. We're working on advocacy. We're working with the Mint and technical assistance with businesses. We hope to get back into more community engagement where we're together. We strongly feel that although we need to physically distance, we need to come together socially. And so we need to come up with ways that we can do that appropriately and safely, because we're social animals and we want to come together, we want to work together, and we're finding ways to do that. So these are just the committee structure. And you'll see that the chamber in last year and the chamber, or in REDC last year, each had 3 staff members. And right now, between those two, the budget was about $1.1 million. We now have basically 4.5 people, and we have a budget of about $850,000. So we've reduced the budget. We have 1 location. We have slightly fewer staff, but a very skilled staff, myself excluded, and we're working diligently with a clear mission. One of the first things we did, and maybe you heard about it, was we went out and with the help of our sponsors, the hospital and Heritage Family Credit Union and others, with Casella Waste, we went out and purchased 50,000 masks, and we began to distribute those around to every outward-facing business in the county. So we still have some left. So if you have people that need masks, and if you have a retail shop or store or restaurant and you would like some masks, we'd love to give those out to you. We want to make sure, and we did this the day after the governor announced the mask order, we want to make sure that businesses didn't have to turn anyone away, that there wasn't an argument at the door. And so that was the first thing we did. And the second thing we did, and I'm going to stop sharing here, was we did a survey of our members to find out exactly what it was that they wanted us to do. And what we found out was that of the 400 plus surveys that we sent out and the 140 that we got back, what we found out that regional marketing continued to be the major focus that they wanted us to work on. And the reason was they realized that the tax pie is only so big, and that we can cut budgets, municipal budgets, school budgets, or we can actually grow that pie. And then we have more money that we can spend on roads and schools. But to do that, we need more people. Now we need to be careful about that. And I'm looking at Matt with a mask on. We need to be careful how we invite people to come. But I will tell you that right now we have 5,000 names, basically email addresses in the can. The Real Rutland campaign has come up with 5,000 folks that have gone to the Real Rutland website, left their email trail, and we are now ready to filter those and begin to look at what the hot leads are. We're now ready again to pull out our concierge service, of which I think I see some concierges on the list here, or on the screen right now, like Melinda maybe, and Lisa if she didn't know it, and Chris if you didn't know it, but we've got concierge folks that are ready to catch those people when they come through the filter. So we're working with our regional marketing firm, Lyft, and they are going to automate the process for us so that when people come into the funnel, they'll be asked a number of different questions. And those questions, just like that little robot on the screen when you go to your insurance company and they say, how can I help you today? Well, that little robot is bringing you down a path. And it's bringing you down a path to a specific question so that they can answer that specific question. we're going to do the same. So we're getting ready to do that. We're getting ready to launch our regional marketing initiative. And you know why I'm here tonight, hoping that Rutland will continue, because Rutland has put significant dollars into the regional marketing initiative to the tune of probably $150,000, to the tune of really helping to subsidize probably half of this campaign as we move forward, maybe a little less than half. I think we've spent about $400,000+ on it. But we're bringing people in. And the question will be, well, how many people have you brought in, Lyle? And over the last 2 years, there have been 62 people. And you're going to say, 62 people divided into $400,000. What's that? Well, what it is it's a bit like your IRA or where you're putting your savings, that even when the years are not going well, you keep putting into your IRA, because you know at the end of the day, marketing money is just like that we're getting out there, we're getting in front of people, and it's going to pay off. It's going to pay off slowly, because if we didn't put money into this, what if we lost 62 people? Now that's 124 that we don't have. And so over time, this is going to grow. Over time, it's going to grow slowly, and we're going to bring more people here. Over time, we're going to grow that pie that we can tax so that we can redo our roads, so we can do things that we want to do in municipalities and in the county. So if you're to say, Lyle, because this is the next question, how much money do you want, Lyle? Well, we're asking towns for $1 a person, which equates to $16,000 or so for Rutland to continue supporting the campaign. So the Chamber and Economic Development is working on regional advisory, working on the marketing campaign. You're going to find that we're also working on getting money out to businesses, because there's a second round of more than $70 million coming out from the state, and we will be our navigators for that money. And we look forward to supporting businesses as they get more of that money in our county. So I'm going to pause, because you don't want to listen to me all night, and I will talk all night because I'm an administrator. So
Thank you, Lyle. Alderman Artori.
Thanks. Obviously, I'm supportive of the efforts that the REDC and the Chamber have done over the years. I'd like to see it going, but I think that there's a bigger conversation that we need to have. So I'd like to refer it to the Marketing Committee for a discussion about the Chamber and Economic Development's request for money for the Regional Marketing Initiative.
Second.
All right. We have a motion, and it has been seconded to refer to link for the marketing initiative to the marketing committee. Is there any further discussion, debate? Alderman Caruso.
Yeah, I look forward to this, and I was trying to find if I'm on the committee. If not, I will attend it. I'm really, yes, I am. I'm very excited to have Mr. Jepson here tonight. If I could, because other people have done this in the past, I've celebrated 63 years of living in Rutland in August, and I've been 42 years in the marketing business, 42 plus. My opinion of REDC and the Chamber hasn't been too good. It's been I don't know, probably a disaster in my 42 years. So I hope you can pull it. You don't have big shoes to fill. I think you got nothing but to go upward from here, Mr. Jepson, and I think you will do it. And I hope you do. I've dealt with other chambers where you call them up and they're there for you, and I've never felt that with the Rutland Chamber. I've had some what I'd say are not so good experiences with REDC. So it sounds to me, from what you said and from what I know of you, you're kind of a doer, and you're going to get this done, and that's what we need. But I look forward to this, and I think you'd probably be a good horse to bet on, that we give you the money to get Rutland going. And in my 42 years of marketing, I used to have the honor of going to Killington when it was the old Killington, and they had recognized that the marketing area for Rutland is only about 2.5 hours, because those people have the ability to come back and forth, not 500 miles away. That's not our market. Our market is right here. The people that can come from Fairhaven every day, the people that can come from Whitehall every day, that's our market area. And just like I said, I'm just a Rutland guy, so people don't listen to me on that, but I'm really glad that you're in. And I'm sorry what I said about the chamber, but I've not belonged to the chamber because I found it to just be a waste of time. And I think that I look forward to maybe joining again someday and having someone like you to get in there and fix it and have it a up and coming organization. So I'm supportive of this motion and hope we can find the money to put it in there, because I think it'd be a good thing for Rutland, because we need all the help we can get right now. So thanks, Mr. Chairman, and I look forward to the vote.
Thank you, Alderman Garuso. Alderwoman Davis.
Thank you. So Lyle, I'm also supportive of this, but I've also asked this question a lot of times and really not gotten an answer as to what has been the effect of the amount of money that the city has put in to date. So I asked for initially, when we first started using some of the MIAS funds to support this marketing expenditure, was to benchmark it. You know, let us know what we're doing. You know, we went through the Killington campaign. We've been around the block. We all have attended the events where folks have come up to meet people. We've also been involved with the giveaway house. We've done all that, but it's still difficult to benchmark what is that dollar buying the city of Rutland. 62 people is great. Don't misunderstand me, but I think the initial conversations were, getting folks to move here, improving recreational opportunities, what kind of jobs can we do, getting folks to buy houses. Now we know, and folks know even more so, that you can work remotely. So we had opportunities for homes that the city had taken over. So they were cheap to purchase. You certainly would need to put money in and to probably bring them up to speed. But those were all kinds of things were on the table, and we don't hear about them anymore. So when this meeting occurs, that's kind of some of the information I'm going to look for.
Thank you, Alderman Davis. Alderwoman Ryan.
Hi, Lyle. I just I want to say welcome back to the community and working here to be back. And I'm really excited to work with you. And I missed you a lot when you were gone. You brought a lot to Rutland, so I'm excited to have you back. And I definitely support this, and I look forward to collaborating with you.
Thank you, Alderman Ryan. Alderman Garuso.
Yes, Alderman Davis, if I could address her. Many years ago, after I got out of the hospital, my surgery, I couldn't drive, and a very close friend was killed in an accident. And Mr. Dojan Cola flew me to Long Island, New York. It was a Saturday funeral, and we got down there, and there were 6 lanes of traffic going in 2 directions on a Saturday morning. And I said, "Why is it so busy?" And Joe said, "Where there's people, there's money." And I hope Mr. Jepson can bring us people, because where there's people, there's money. When you go down Merchants Row on a Friday afternoon and there's nobody parking and whatever, we need people here, and we need to have people come in. I don't care what, if it's shoppers or whatever it is. That's the thing. That's the key, is we got to get some more people into this town. If it takes stores to bring them or factories to bring them, and I'll never forget that. Where there's people, there's money. So we need people in Rutland, and let's do it. Let's get on it. It's worth the money.
Thank you, Alderman Garuso. Any other questions, comments, discussion? Hearing and seeing none, we have a motion. It's been seconded. Lyle, would you like to say something before we go ahead? Okay. So a motion has been to send to funding request for the regional marketing campaign to the marketing committee. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Absolutely aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Go ahead, Lyle.
Just 2 things. One, in response to Sharon. Sharon, I would love everyone on the screen to take a look at our annual meeting movie, not because I'm in it, but because you're going to see lots of people that are in it. And the annual meeting we did at the fairgrounds, both in Fairhaven, down here at the fairgrounds, also up in Brandon. We had a lot of people show up, and it was a great event in our opinion. But why it was a great event was because the annual meeting was about families. It was about the families throughout our entire county. You're going to see pictures of 27 different families in 27 different towns and 1 big city in the county. You're going to see interviews of families that tell you why they're here. And one of those families is not somebody who just moved here. It's a family who's been here for generations, and they are going to tell you why they're in Rutland and why it's special to be in Rutland. I'm not going to tell you who those families are because I want you to go to the Chamber website and I want you to watch our annual meeting. It's only 34 minutes long, and you will get to see people that you know talking about your community and why it's special and why other people should move here. And then to Sam, thank you very much for your comments. I would like Sam to know that one of the things that we did was that the state came up with tourism and marketing dollars. They were giving out grants for $10,000. So we now have real Rutland bucks. And if you go to our Facebook page or online, you can find out what businesses you can go to for real Rutland bucks. And what's a real Rutland buck? You go to Roots or you go to the Palms or you go to Little Harry's and you spend more than $30 and they will give you $10 in real Rutland bucks. That's your tax dollars, marketing money at work, getting people to come back out again. We chose in Rutland restaurants because they were the most severely hit. They were the ones that couldn't have enough people come through the door. But that's not all we did. We went to 4 other towns. We went to Killington and Brandon and Castleton and Poultney and said, let us write the grant for you. So we got $50,000 worth of grants so that people can now cross-pollinate and you can go up to La Provence or you can go out to Poultney or you can go out to Castleton and you can ask for real Castleton bucks. So those are the types of things that the Chamber and Economic Development are going to do moving forward. And it's not just about Rutland City, it's about our entire county, and it's about all of us working together. So check out our annual meeting and go out and get some bucks.
And if I could, it's called an ADI in the marketing business. It's all an ADI, an area of dominant influence. Brandon affects Rutland. Fairhaven affects Rutland. You're perfect. You're on. I love it. Thank you. Alderman Ryan was right. Good to have you here.
I learn something every day.
Thank you, Alderman Grusa. Thanks, Lyle. Any other questions for Lyle before we let him out of here? Sir, I think you are free to go. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you all very much.
All right, so we are still outside the rail. Do we have anyone else on the line here that wishes to address the board? Matters on the agenda. I'm hearing nothing, so we will move on to communications from the mayor. And the first thing we have is the untabling of the appointment for the RRA board, Andy Paluch.
Hello.
Second.
All right, we have a motion, so I'm seconded to untable. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Andy, I don't know if you are online with us tonight, but I will ask, and if you'd like to address us. I'm hearing nothing, so in a motion to not circulate the ballot box, but basically go to the link.
Mr. Chairman, did you get mine? I only voted like a half hour ago because I didn't get it. I didn't know I had it. Maybe 40 minutes.
So, and Attorney Bloomer, you had specific instructions for us, correct?
I believe everybody should have received an email that just provides a link to vote. So I can see that two folks have voted so far. I can't see who they are, but I can see 2 have voted, 3 have opened the email, and 6 haven't opened the email yet, or clicked on the. Maybe it's clicked on the link yet.
The old man voted.
So if people would like to check their email, find the time. It looks like it came out at 1:17 p.m. this afternoon. Go to the link, and now would be the time to vote. Those votes will go to Attorney Bloomer. He will tally them and let us know. With that, while you're doing that, Mayor Lair, what else do you have for us?
Really only one thing, just to remind everybody that I am deep into budget season at City Hall for the administration. I have run into a couple of the different aldermen to let them know that we started to meet with department heads. We are facing some challenges with some hard costs, in particular insurances. we have reached out to those insurance companies to try to address what their increases are and try to reduce them. We've had a little bit of success, but not nearly enough. So just to let you know that is going on. I have every intention of delivering the budget by October 31st, which comes on a weekend. So if it's not on Friday the 30th, it would be on the Saturday the 31st, and formally deliver it, obviously, on that first board meeting, which I believe is November 2nd, the night before the election, on that Monday. So we're moving ahead. Other than that, I haven't seen any major bumps yet, but we will let you know if there are, and we are moving ahead. So that's really all I got tonight.
Thank you, Mayor Lair. Are there any questions for the mayor? Alderman Torrey.
Thanks. Yeah, I had a chance to run into the mayor as well, and it's going to be a challenging budget year. And because the administration did such a good job in trimming some budget for the tax rate this year, even a level funded budget would end up raising taxes. So this is going to be a challenge, and I'll be supportive of what you come up with. I would encourage. It might be time to make some hard decisions regarding staffing, and so I would encourage the mayor to kind of look at all options, and I would be supportive of going down that road. Thank you.
Sorry. Just real quick from Attorney Bloomer, we only have 10 votes in, so if someone may not have voted yet on the RRA appointment, just want you to check. Make sure it went through. Thank you. Any other questions from Mayor Lair before we move on? Hearing and seeing none. So we are on to additions and deletions to the agenda. Attorney Bloomer, I believe you have an executive session.
Yes, if you would add an executive session regarding disciplinary action against the public officer or employee, that would be great.
So moved.
All right, and I got a second for Alderman DePoy. So we have a motion, it's been seconded to add an executive session to the end of the meeting. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Are there any other additions or deletions to the agenda? Hearing and seeing none. We are on to reports and letters from department heads and officials. Up first, Brennan Duffy, BIAP request. This is page 1. And Brennan, I'll hand it over to you.
Okay, thank you. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, good evening, everyone. So I have sent a memo out for the packet explaining a little bit about what the recommendation is coming from the RRA. Before I get into that, I just want to give a little brief history here for folks that have joined the board before or after 2017 when these two loans were made. But this is part of the Business Incentive and Assistance Program. We had 2 applicants come in 2017 and request funding through that program. The funding that was requested in these 2 cases was for a $10,000 forgivable loan to be made to the businesses to assist them as they started or expanded the business. So at that point, the RRA reviewed the applications and came back to the Board of Aldermen with a recommendation that both of these businesses be funded for a $10,000 loan. In the policy and in the loan agreement, there's a 3-year term where the applicants are asked on an annual basis to provide a report documenting how they are doing. There are certain benchmarks that they are asked to meet and those are based on the forecast that they had when they opened or applied for this loan. So most of those are related to personal investment in the business and for job creation, so hiring certain positions at certain rates. So the RRA, again, has kind of reviewed these over the last 2 years. At the end of August, these 2 loans came due. So again, related to the policy for the Business Incentive Assistance Program and for the agreement that went along with these loans when they were made, the RRA reviewed that final report and felt that both of these applicants had made the benchmarks that they had planned to make. In both cases, they didn't exactly hit their projections, but the RRA felt that they were close enough in both cases that these loans should be rescinded and basically turned into grants. So this $10,000 is not going to be repaid if the Board of Aldermen so agrees. So that is the recommendation coming from the RA board, is that the loans for G&G Associates, which is better known as Maple Leaf Wine and Gifts on Woodstock Avenue, and for Kavakis Associates, which is a tax preparation firm located in the city, be forgiven. And then there's a second piece in the memo that the city attorney had requested, which would be to authorize the mayor to notify the borrowers and the city treasurer that the loans have been forgiven by a vote, again, if this occurs tonight on today's date, so that the paperwork can be filed and the documentation of the loan being forgiven and turned into a grant can go out to their 2 businesses.
I'll move to suspend the rules.
Second.
We have a motion to suspend the rules, and it's been seconded. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Karen, I think you're on mute.
Thank you. I'll move to forgive the loans for G&G Associates, LLC, and Kavakis Associates, LLC, and request that the mayor notify the borrower and treasurer that the loans have been forgiven.
Second.
All right. We have a motion has been seconded. Is there any discussion or debate on the matter? Hearing and seeing all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Brennan.
Okay, thanks a lot, folks. Have a nice evening.
Thank you.
All right, up next, Attorney Bloomer, health insurance and HRA for non-union employees in the police department. This is page 2. Attorney Bloomer.
Thank you. So yeah, I was able to provide you with a memo in the packet, and we've been working on personnel policy, just general personnel policy, a redo of the handbook, but that's kind of a slow-going project. And we are also looking at some specific personnel policies for various departments. Some of you who have been on the board for a little while will remember, I think it was in 2018, we did a specific set of personnel policies for the fire department at the time, and we've kind of got it on our punch list to do the same at the police department. But again, that's not something that's looking like it'll be completed in the short term. But we did want to try to achieve one of the goals of doing these revisions, which is to begin to equalize the benefits that employees are non-union employees are receiving across all departments. So in the past, police and fire have received the same benefits at the same level as the union members in their departments. DPW some time ago, or actually I'm not positive whether they ever followed that policy either, but they've since gone to where they have non-union benefits and policies, and the union members are subject to their own collective bargaining agreement. So the gist of it is starting in January 1st, 2021, setting the contributions for health insurance and the structure for the health reimbursement accounts at the same levels as the other non-union employees in the city, and the police department would be the last department to be converted. So if you were to vote for this motion or these couple motions, they would be have equalized benefits, at least with respect to their health insurance premiums and their HRA.
Thank you, Attorney Bloomer.
I'll move to suspend the rules.
Okay.
We have a motion, and it has been seconded to suspend the rules. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 And those opposed, motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I move to set the employee contribution for monthly health insurance premiums at 18% effective January 1st, 2021 for non-union employees in the police department.
Second.
All right, we have a motion. It's been seconded. Is there any discussion or debate? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries.
And secondly, I move to set the employee contribution for the health reimbursement account at 25%, with the city to pay the first 75% effective January 1st, 2021 for non-union employees in the police department.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion. It's been seconded. Is there any discussion or debate on that motion? I'm hearing and seeing none. All those in favor, please indicate by aye.
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 Those opposed, motion carries. All right, thank you. Attorney Bloomer, is that it?
Yes, thank you.
All right, thank you. Real quick before we move on to reports from standing committees, Attorney Bloomer, I'll ask, are we good with the vote for Andy Paluch, the RRA?
Yes, there were only 10 votes received, but it was a 10-0 vote, so the 11th vote wouldn't have an impact.
All right, perfect. So Andy Paluch has been confirmed to the RRA board by a vote total of 10 in favor, 0 against, and 1 mysteriously missing. Thank you. All right, so we'll move on to reports of standing committees. Up first, we have Alderman Clifford, Public Works Committee, whose pages 3 and 4.
Mr. Chairman, I think we have the treasurer first.
Oh,
Treasurer.
did I miss the treasurer's report? Oh, I'm sorry, I missed the treasurer's report. Treasurer Markowski.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Thank you. No, I sent a lot of material with a quarter end. We're always looking at all of the funds in the city, reporting on not just the general fund, but all of the special revenue funds and capital funds. So I'll just go through real quickly. When you're looking at the bank balances, I like to note if we add some accounts, we added accounts from the U.S., from the bond bank for the streets bond and the culverts and bridges bonds. So those, what happens is that they will release the funds and then we can start drawing down, and we have already started to draw down. Our cash position is lower than we want it to be. When you're looking at the balances and you get into the pooled cash, you can see that sewer fund has a large balance due to the city, and that's it's directly related to the projects that are ongoing in the sewer fund. So the city engineers, I know they've been working on securing the reimbursement for those. So hopefully that cash position will get better as we go forward. Any questions on cash as we move on? Just want to mention, looking at the pooled cash fund, I noted the sewer fund, water fund has a small balance due to the city. That cash position, when you start looking at that parking meter fund, that is lower than we want it to be. Last year, I just pulled up last year's results, and we had expenses over revenues of $48,000 in that fund. I really need to take some time to go back and just verify all of those numbers. But with that dwindling, I don't know how much longer that fund will sustain, to be able to cover the expenses in that fund. So something to look at. I want to move on to the delinquent report and note that delinquent property taxes, that process is just ongoing collection process. We're scheduling, we had tax sales in early September. We're scheduling some more out in November. I did note in the first quarter we collected $193,000 in delinquent tax payments, so that's very good. Also on the water and sewer delinquencies, we collected roughly $80,000 in that first quarter on the delinquent balances is what I'm speaking of. But I did want to point out, we always get caught up in the delinquencies that are growing, but if you're looking at like the first quarter, I want to just take the first quarter tax payment. We billed in excess of $8 million on that tax bill for that first quarter. The balance remaining from that first quarter is $336,000. So that is a large delinquent balance when you're looking at the first quarter, if you consider it delinquent. But if you think about it, it was $8 million billing, and we collected all but $336,000. So thought that was interesting to look at it in a different light. But as you go through the year, when you're looking at what to do, say that $336,000, if all 4 quarters reflect like that, your delinquency is going to grow just so much larger, times 4, that 336. But we'll continue to receive payments on that first quarter as normal. I just wanted to point that out. Moving on to the balance sheet, the general fund, the unassigned fund balance is in a better position than we had originally projected when doing the tax rate. So given the budget restrictions and what we're looking at for next year, that will probably be a positive offset to some of the increases that we see coming forward. Overall expenses in the general fund are really on target. Revenue's a little bit up, but just in the first quarter. We'll see how that progresses. The water fund, sewer funds, all on target. Expenses in those funds are high, but they include encumbered balances, so we're not sure that all of those funds would be spent. Parking fund revenues 17%, expenses at 19%. Looking at the transit fund, in the first 2 months of the year, they're showing revenues over expenses of $9,000. Then I'll just hop on to the RRA. The RRA expenses are a bit above at 25.6% for the first quarter, and also noting that the RRA carries some reserve balances around $76,000 that's held for grants and other purposes of the RRA. I also included a summary so you could see, first of all, in the general fund, a budget summary so you can see department-wide progress in the first quarter of the year. So any questions on that? Most departments are within or slightly over the expense target for the first quarter. I also included, because there's so much material, just a breakdown of the funds, the other funds that we're looking at in the city, the general fund, other general fund accounts, special revenue, capital funds, and proprietary funds, just so you can see what is there. When you're looking at first quarter activity, that's net activity in those funds. Revenues over expenses for most of those funds. Some of the smaller amounts are just earning interest, and then just wanted to give you kind of a breakdown of the cash position in those other funds and the purpose of the funds. We don't really look closely at those as we go through, but I wanted to present that in a way that hopefully is useful for you in looking at the financials. And other note, we have the auditors coming in first 2 weeks in November. They should be here at City Hall, so to work on the FY20 audit.
Thank you, Treasurer Markowski. Are there any questions from the board for Treasurer Markowski? Alderman Attari.
Thanks. Mary, is this as a quarterly? Do we want to send this to committee?
I'd like to. I'm open whenever. If you'd like to get together. We also have the June 30 that didn't get together, but it would that would give me an opportunity to share some information. Looking at September 30, share some information on June 30 as we go into that budget cycle.
Yep, that's what I was thinking. So yes, I'd like to make a motion to refer the September quarterly report to Finance Committee.
All right, we have a motion, and I see a second. Is there any discussion or debate on the motion to refer to Finance Committee? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, could I just ask the treasurer one question? I don't know that, Mary, you have the answer for this, but when we're looking at the parking meter fund, I think there's a couple of issues here. A, is anybody feeding the machines? Because I don't know if they do or don't. And or B, is it this quarter more prevalent because of COVID, people not being downtown, stores not being open, restaurants not being open? So trying to figure out, do we have to look at a different way for collecting some revenue for the parking meter fund? So that's what I'm kind of asking.
Yeah, I think so. I think we really need to look at that fund in terms of the revenue and expenses. We actually heard last week in Board of Finance, I think some of the older parking meters out there, not the new kiosks, but those are becoming something that's difficult to replace. So I know that's going to be a challenge. Where are we going to find the money to fix those if we want to fix those? And I can give you more breakdown on what we're receiving for revenues in there. That the COVID really, I mean, we had a stop there from March through early June with no activity at all in the fund. So, I mean, it's picked up a bit, but.
Thank you, Mary.
Are there any additional questions for Treasurer Markowski? Alderman Garuso.
I wouldn't say it's a question, but it's going to committee just to factor in that there are no businesses basically from West Street to Washington Street too. I don't see any cars parked on Merchants Row. And as it gets colder, I'm sure Center Street's going to slow down too. So I don't know. I've always questioned having the meters at all to, maybe encourage people to come downtown. But I think later on I want to talk about what we can do to maybe get some more businesses downtown. But it's pretty quiet downtown, and that's one of the things I think we need to look at more so than worrying about meters right now. So that's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Garuso. Any other questions, comments for Treasurer Markowski? Hearing and seeing none, we will move on. Thank you, Treasurer Markowski. Appreciate it as always.
Thank you.
Up next, we are on to reports of standing committees. We have Alderman Clifford, Public Works Committee, pages 3 and 6 packet.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The DPW committee met virtually on September 29th. I called the meeting to order at 5:30. Present were committee members, Alderwoman Mattis, Alderwoman Humphrey, Alderman Gillum, Alderman DePoy, and myself. Also present were board President Whitcomb, Alderwoman Davis, Alderman Garuso, Alderman Talbot, Commissioner Wenberg, City Engineer Rotundo, DPW Business Manager Russo, and Rutland Herald reporter Gordon Richillo. And I just noticed that, Mary, I apologize, I didn't put you on here, but Treasurer Markowski was in attendance as well. The first order of business was a discussion regarding a complaint from Mr. Bateman of Lafayette Street regarding the installation of curb in front of his residence. Mr. Bateman had called Alderman Garuso to ask why the curb installation in front of his home was necessary and said that he could no longer park in front of his home. Engineer Rotundo showed a presentation and explained the reasons for the curb installation, such as directing storm water to catch basins to protect private property from water going on the homeowners' lawns and into basements, and to protect the green belts from damage. Rotundo presented some before and after photos of the area in front of Mr. Bateman's home, and he explained how erosion problems occur without curbing in front of the houses, which the photos illustrated. The photos also showed that there was plenty of parking at Mr. Bateman's home on the Easterly Avenue side. Mr. Rotundo further explained that the areas around the city are similar to Lafayette Street, and they'll also be addressed at the funding of the paving bonds. And also, Alderman Russo agreed that the presentation was satisfactory. The next order of business was an update on the status of the water meter issues and how work has progressed. Commissioner Wenberg addressed the committee regarding the completion of the latest billing cycle. He explained that the meter issues were not at 100%, but are close. Business manager Garuso said that the new technology is finally working and that more meters need to be installed. Ms. Garuso said that the department has been reviewing readings and calculating bills to make sure everything is going smoothly. She explained that there have been employee injuries in the meter department and therefore manpower has been down. She explained how the Water Smart system has shown the ability to detect water leaks, which is helpful because it's faster and more economical than having a technician go to a residence to locate a leak. She explained that the water use was high due to COVID and people spending more time at home and filling pools and watering lawns due to the dry summer conditions. She explained that people without the new meters meant that more estimating was being done. She said 6 to 8 meters are being replaced every day, along with 3 to 4 defective meters. Ms. Garuso concluded by stating that things are getting better. Commissioner Wenberg gave a brief demonstration to the committee on how Water Smart works, explained the features on the customer portal, such as consumption and leak detection, along with the bill payments, daily water use notifications, and how to track them. Treasurer Markowski stated how challenging it's been getting through the software conversions and reconciliations. She stated that Water Smart is much easier to work with than Fathom was. Treasurer Markowski stated that her department has formed a great relationship with the DPW and also praised Assistant Treasurer Holmquist for her role in working with the DPW. Alderwoman Davis stated the need to share the revenues and expenses and why the city went to this technology in the first place. And Commissioner Wenberg shared a breakdown of the revenues and expenditures in the FYI 2020-21 budget and stated he would email the documents to the board members. Commissioner Wenberg also commended his department employees for all the hard work they've done throughout the season, especially in the water department in their role backing up the meter installations. There being no further business, the committee adjourned at 6:30 and no action was taken by the committee, and this is for information only.
Thank you, Alderman Clifford. Any questions for Alderman Clifford? Hearing and seeing none, we will move on to Alderwoman Humphrey, General Committee. This is pages 5 and 6 of your pack.
Thanks. The General Committee met on October 8th at 5:30 with the agenda item to discuss in-person Board of Aldermen meetings. Committee members present were myself, Vice Chair Paul Clifford, Sam Galuso, Tom DePoy, and Rebecca Mattis. Others present were Matt Whitcomb, Sharon Davis, Bob Pelletier, Mayor Allaire, Judy Frazier, Matt Bloomer, Lisa Ryan, Bill Gillum, Bill Lovett, and Chris Sartori. The committee met to discuss possibilities regarding resuming in-person Board of Aldermen meetings. I shared my understanding after a discussion with the City Attorney's Office that a remote attendance option is necessary while the city is still operating under the Governor's emergency order. I propose that we move forward with our current go-to meeting option as the primary meeting format, and any in-person options would be additional to that. Tom DePoy stated that while he had no specific timeline to move towards meeting in person, he recognizes the importance of starting the discussion now so that we'll be ready to do so when it is safe and it makes sense. He also mentioned some city residents may have difficulty accessing the meetings remotely due to internet access or lack of technology. It was also noted that while the virtual meetings have been a hurdle to some, it may have also made municipal meetings easier to attend for others. Attorney Bloomer stated that his legal guidance in regards to meeting in person is that it is allowable as long as we follow the governor's guidelines for group gatherings. The primary items being maintaining 6 feet social distance and mask wearing. Judy Frazier, as City Hall Safety Officer, noted that if we were to meet in Alderman's chambers, we would be able to maintain a 6-foot distance with just the board members present, though beyond that, it is not really practical. So discussion continued regarding potential location. The CSJ gym or the Rutland Rec Community Center was mentioned and stood out as an option if the city remains in control of the building. Alderman Clifford asked if the city had monitors available to use at an in-person location for a hybrid meeting scenario. And the police department has some of this equipment available, though it's noted that participants attending remotely would not necessarily be able to see those in the in-person meeting space, particularly the aldermen, unless in-person attendants also had laptops in front of them and were signed in. In that scenario, Alderman Atori pointed out a potential issue with stable connectivity at any location we choose. Alderwoman Mattis said it sounds like the technology problems and logistics are the most complicated. The safety guidelines of masks and 6 feet are straightforward and known. In regard to timing, she would just like to have an in-person option as soon as it is safe to do so. There is consensus that moving towards a plan to meet in person was necessary and important, though we are not quite ready yet. And there's location, sound, and connectivity logistics to work out. The city clerk's office is overwhelmed with general election activities, and no timeline stands out as a particular benchmark to aim for. Board President Whitcomb then reiterated that to be successful moving to in-person meetings, we would need to have a very specific plan with all the logistics worked out, and he's not sure we have the resources to pull that together quickly or soon. Mayor then noted that most, if not all, surrounding communities are still meeting remotely, and all of the state meetings he participates in are still remote. So in closing, we determined there's no specific plan of action, and the item's going to stay in committee. I'm going to check in with President Whitcomb and Clerk Heck after the election to see if we have any updates or general thoughts. And in the meantime, if anybody has an epiphany or some strong opinion about how we can do this, send me a note or give me a call. The meeting, actually, Paul Clifford moved to adjourn the meeting at 6:15, and so I guess this is for information only.
Thank you, Alderwoman Humphrey. Are there any questions from members of the board for Alderwoman Humphrey? Hearing and seeing none, we will move on to reports of select committees, in which we have none. Reports of representatives, we have nothing on the agenda. So we're on to petitions, letters, miscellaneous communication. We have a request for a coin drop. It's pages 7 through 9 of your packet.
I'll move to suspend the rules.
Second.
We have a motion to suspend the rules and it's been seconded. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries.
So I'll move for the approval of the RCHS coin drop to be held October 24th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. location Merchants Road.
Second.
We have a motion that has been seconded. Is there any debate or discussion on this issue? Alderman Attore.
Thanks. In my packet, it doesn't look like all the other pieces were signed. Have those come through? Question for Clerk Heck.
They have not, Alderman Attore. In regards, so the Humane Society had initially proposed about doing 2 coin drops, one in June and one in October. And then when COVID came along, they basically just kind of put the June coin drop to bed, didn't even think about it in that capacity, and thought that there was an October applicant in, but there was not. So I basically stated to the woman who was looking at presenting this that I could try and see how the board felt about it, just get the special events permit into me, and that we would handle the other ends of it. As you well know, there's strict criteria for coin drops. Commander Sheldon is aware and has approved the coin drop for that day if it was to move forward. There's nothing from DPW, nothing from the fire department, and the most important aspect of this would be the sign off from the city attorney. So even though there's pieces that aren't signed off, those pieces of the puzzle have been addressed, if I may, and it's just that normally this is extremely late in the coin drop season, if I may, to have this happen, but just based upon the severity of some issues maybe with the County Humane Society, they could probably use a little infusion of some cash and stuff. So I thought I would just kind of let the board decide how they felt in that aspect.
Mr. Chairman, I'll amend my motion to approve pending that the clerk obtains the needed necessary signatures.
And is the seconder good with that?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
And Alderman Attore.
Thanks. And that's great. And what I guess my other question is the COVID rules. How are those? Are there? I mean, did the governor come up with rules for how to do coin drops in COVID time? I just want to make sure that like whoever's okay with that part of it all. So.
I think this would be the first coin drop of the year, even though the year for coin drop season is basically officially over. There has been no other coin drop. I don't know if there's any ACCD criteria out there. It didn't seem like when Commander Sheldon was addressed and he came back to state he would pass the information along that there was anything that the PD needed or wanted as far as that goes. I can't imagine DPW would have anything, or the fire department in that aspect. It's a matter of, I'm assuming they would wear a mask and stuff like that. So I haven't heard of any guidelines for so-called coin drops that I could share with the board at this point in time in regards to whether they're a usable option for raising funds or not. I don't have an answer to that question.
So we have a motion. It's been seconded to approve this coin drop pending all of the correct signatures and paperwork filed. Is there any further debate or discussion on this issue? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those
No.
opposed?
No.
I believe you, Alderman Gillum, correct?
Don't do a roll call. I'm the only no vote, so don't do a roll call vote. You don't have to.
I'm trying to avoid it. I think it is just Alderman Gillum.
He hates
All right,
that.
perfect. All right, excellent. Thank you. So the motion passes. We are now on to the Board of Control Commissioners, of which we have nothing. Unfinished business. Is there unfinished business to come before the board? Alderwoman Mattis.
Thank you, Mr. President. This isn't actually unfinished business. I just realized that I forgot to add the report from the Traffic Committee to the agenda, and I'm wondering if now would be an okay time for me to give a brief report on the items that we sent to traffic committee. Would that be acceptable?
Yeah, certainly, go ahead.
Okay, so as to wrong way drivers on Terrell Street, Chief Kilcullen did go make sure that every sign was in place, and it is very well signed. So it's just a matter of enforcement, and they promised to keep an eye on that. As to the stop signs on Stratton Road, both at Hill Pond and Killington, they pledged to do more enforcement. There wasn't any interest in putting a blinker or anything at Hill Pond, although I suggested that the stop signs could be made more visible. So they are going to look into doing whatever they can to make those signs more visible, which might include even putting reflective red tape on the post of the stop sign just to make it stand out more. That kind of reflective tape can be very, very noticeable. So hopefully that'll work. And the only other thing that was of major interest, although it didn't come from us, was the pavement markings on Main Street in front of Wendy's, where the traffic lanes swerve if you're not going to turn right onto West Street as you're driving south, and you have to stay in your lane and move to the left. Nobody knows what's going on unless you're from here. People have not been driving on that correctly at all. DPW did paint it earlier. The paint is fading, so that was agreed that it was of utmost importance to get that paint redone. You know, wider paint, better paint, more appropriately placed. So that is a priority. And that's all.
Thank you, Alderwoman Mattis. Alderwoman Humphrey.
Thanks. My item was actually, I was going to ask if somebody could remind me when that traffic safety meeting, committee meeting was. So thank you for that. It's funny though. It seems like, I mean, I've been on the board like 8 years now, and it seems like we're always talking about how we can't find road paint that lasts longer than 6 months. So I don't know, but I mean, I agree that's an issue. I don't know why we haven't solved that one yet. We talk about it every year. But Rebecca, I did want to ask, because the reason I wanted to bring that meeting up was my neighbor asked me today about the corner of Hill Pond and Cessna. Because there was a curb added there, and there's people parking 3 and 4 cars deep on that curb there. They used to be parking in the yard, and now they're pushed out into the street, which is the intention of the curbing. And so now the problem's more obvious, but it hasn't stopped the behavior. And I talked both to Chief and Commissioner Wenberg about it. And my understanding was that was going to be brought up at that committee meeting so that they could then add the intention was to add a no parking here to corner sign.
Yeah, Melinda, I can, that was brought up. I just have it on my notes. I can go look at my notes right now, or I can just email you after with the.
No, just email me later. That would be great, because then I can just forward it on to my neighbor or follow up with Commissioner. Thank you.
Okay.
Alderman Caruso.
I was just going to say Hill Pond and Cessna are not, they don't touch. They're parallel. Hill Pond's up further on Stratton, and Cessna's.
Hill Pond and
Victor.
Lisa, what is that one? Victor, yeah. Hill Pond and Victor, thank you.
They do. Cool.
Is there any other unfinished business to come before the board? Hearing and seeing none, we are on to miscellaneous motions, resolutions, and new business. Alderman Caruso, go ahead.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, was looking at my committee assignments, and I'd like to refer this motion to marketing because we're going to talk to Mr. Jepson, and I think this is maybe a marketing issue. But in a recent article in the Herald, and I'd like to see if we could get the Rutland Partnership Executive Director Steve Peters there. I don't know him, but he was quoted in the paper as saying, "We don't have a program, unfortunately, that matches people looking to buy businesses here in Rutland." Said, "I think all we can do is get the word out." I know that's been a challenge in the past where someone wants to retire and don't know how they can pitch their business. Alaire said the city needs to find more ways to help helping businesses, ways of helping businesses. And I really like to, have them in. I think they could meet Mr. Jepson because if you go to I think it's the JAG website that Jancolas have, they've got all their commercial residential businesses on there and how to get a hold of them and how much they want, how much a square foot. And it'd be neat if these guys can get together and maybe help some of these guys market them, because if we can get those buildings filled, it's more tax revenue for the city. If it's restaurants, it's more rooms and meals tax for us, and all comes together. But I really like to make a motion to get Mr. Peters to come to the meeting that Mr. Jepson's at. If who chairs the committee? I'm sorry, I didn't check that. Alderman Nattori could maybe see about having, because I think they're all together. That's why, in my opinion. So I'd like to make a motion to have Mr. Peters at the meeting with Mr. Jepson, and maybe we can see about get everybody on the same sheet of music to promote the downtown and maybe come up with some sort of a collated marketing campaign or something to attract business into downtown, because he basically said there's no program for it. And that's, if someone would second that, I'd appreciate it.
Alderman Nattori.
Thanks. If I can clarify first, and then I'd be glad to second. Sam, is your interest in just having Steve Peters at that meeting, or do you want to refer something specific to the committee?
Well, the specific is kind of what he means about that. As he said, we don't have a program, unfortunately, that matches people looking to buy a business.
Okay.
I would kind of wonder what he does for a living then, if he's down there promoting downtown. If someone comes to Rutland and says, "Hey, can you help me out with buying, I'd like to be interested in that store," what's he do? Does he say go see a realtor? Does he say go to the owner? I don't know what he does. So I guess maybe Lyle Jepson, go see Lyle. I don't know, but it's kind of neat to have him in the room or in this meeting, Mr. Alderman, because maybe he could, tell us how it would work, or maybe Lyle and him could get a chance to figure out a little plan. That was what I was thinking anyway.
I'll second the motion to refer to marketing a discussion of a way of marketing businesses to potential business owners. Is that what?
Yeah, but we need Mr. Peters there, because like I said, he was the one that said in this conversation, like I said, he said in this article that he didn't have a program to match people looking to buy businesses. So if he doesn't have a program, maybe REDC and the chamber do. So let's get them together.
Sounds good. Second.
I'd like to have the motion to have him there at that meeting, please.
Sure, absolutely.
Thank you.
Alderwoman Humphrey.
Thanks. Alderman Caruso, I don't mean to sound facetious, but one day you're going to meet all these people and it's going to be quite a party. I think,
I hope so.
after all this COVID is over, I'm always in agreement to get together and talk more about promoting downtown and all that, but the Gene Cola website that you mentioned, we have something very similar to that Steve's group or RRA pulls it together. I even think, I'm trying to remember the meeting. Bill Gillum was there because he was familiar with it, I think. But you can click through the downtown map and click on the building and it tells you the square footage and what it used to be and who the owner is and what the rent is and all that. So I think it sounds like maybe we need a refresher on it, since it may have been a year or more since we all heard about it. But I mean, maybe some of these pieces are out there. Maybe we just need to keep connecting the dots as the organizations change. Now that Lyle's here would be a good time to go through all that again.
So you just hit the nail on the head. Every time I go to Rutland, Vermont, I see this website that says Rutland was founded 200 something years ago as a marble community, and that's wonderful. But a link or something that said, "Hey, you want to open a business or whatever," would be great, Melinda. That's absolutely perfect. That's what we want to do, is put it all together. So super. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Gillum.
Yeah, just to give you a little background, they do have a computer program where a business person can go in and click on any building downtown. It'll tell them what is in the building and what square footage is in that building available to rent or buy. They do have that whole inventory in there, and it's working very well. All the organizations are linked together. The chamber's linked to them. They are linked to the chamber. They're linked to the state of Vermont. They're linked to the county level stuff. So those guys have already done that type of work. I just think that maybe you should be asking those questions at that meeting, and they can brief you on that.
Thank you, Alderman Gillum. So we have a motion. It's been seconded to send to Marketing Committee the discussion of building a website of matching prospective businesses to prospective business owners. Is there any other discussion or debate on this issue? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor of the referral, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Is there any other miscellaneous motions, resolutions, new business? Alderman DePoy.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President and board, over the last few days, there's been an article story in the newspaper about a member of the police department supporting his wife who is running for elective office here in the city. It is debatable, I guess, at this point, whether it is or is not part of the charter. I would personally like to send that issue to the Public Safety Committee for review. It probably, and this is up to you, Mr. President, maybe you want to send it to Charter and Ordinance, but I would like to begin the discussion at the board level of a possibility of changing the charter if it needs to be changed, or get a clarification from legal on that as to whether or not someone can support their spouse or immediate family member in running for any elective office. I think that, if somebody is supporting their spouse, not in any kind of city uniform, not representing the city in any way, shape, or form, should be allowed to do so. And if we need to change the charter to address that, then I think we need to start that discussion. Thank you. And my referral is up to you, whether it be public safety or Charter and Ordinance. Probably Charter and Ordinance, I guess.
Thank you.
All right, so we have a motion that's been seconded, and yes, Charter and Ordinance does make the most sense based on your description. Alderman Garuso.
I support your motion, and I support what you're trying to do, Alderman DePoy. I never thought I'd say that I missed the fact that my father's picture should be on the wall of chiefs at the station, due to the fact that one of the mayors burned him, and I'm not going to tell you why. The late Alderman Crowley was city attorney and in depth told me what happened. But my dad, years ago, I put stickers on his car. Didn't know. I got him and put stickers on his car. And boy, he wasn't happy. He said he could get fired and would have lost his job if he'd done that. And I thought, boy, that's not right. And it later turned out, not later, prior to that, one of the mayors, like I said, didn't choose him to be police chief after the man had been there for a zillion years as acting chief and whatever. So it's not fair. And I don't think it's right, and as long as they're not in uniform, but it was his own personal car, and he had two of them, and I put a sticker on each one, and boy, I had to scrape them off out there in the middle of February doing it. So I think you're right. I think you're onto something, and I think it's an antiquated rule that needs to go away. So I'm in support of it.
Thank you, Alderman Garuso. Is there any other discussion or debate on this referral to the Charter and Ordinance Committee? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor, would you please indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries. Do we have any additional miscellaneous motions, resolutions, or new business to come before the board? Alderman Garuso.
Just a quick question, is Halloween trick-or-treating, all that okay in Rutland? Did the chairman or the superintendent of Rec and Parks cancel that, or anybody cancel that and I didn't know it, or we good to go?
No, Sam, nobody, this is the mayor. No one has canceled trick-or-treating here in the city. We would encourage people to do it safely if they're going to be out. Parents go with accompany their children. My guess is there's going to be quite a lot less trick-or-treating than there has been in previous years because of COVID, but no one has canceled trick-or-treating this year. I think what we're planning on doing at our house here is putting a bucket of candy out on the front porch and let people and children come up and help themselves, so there's less interaction with people. But no, we are going to have Halloween trick-or-treating like we have in forever here in the city of Rutland.
And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, his name is David Allaire. I've not heard him say that since March, since I got the Board of Aldermen. David Allaire, the mayor. I'll make a motion to adjourn. Thank you.
Before we adjourn, we do have an executive session.
Second.
I believe we are ready. So, okay. Attorney Blue, if you would.
Okay, the motion is to enter into executive session to discuss a disciplinary action against a public officer or employee pursuant to 1 VSA 317A4 with the inclusion of the police chief, the police commission chair, and the mayor.
So moved.
Do we have the link?
Second.
We have a motion. It's been seconded. Alderman Garuso, the link is in the email I sent out. It's the second one underneath public.
Yep. I remember. Thank you.
Perfect. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries.